The year is 1892. A heavy August sun settles over Fall Rivers, Massachusetts, a proud mill town built on industry, gossip, and tight morals. Inside 92nd Street, the Borden house crouches close to the street like it's hiding from something. Curtains are drawn, windows closed, a silence so thick that you can hear a needle fall. Andrew Borden rules the house with an iron routine. His second wife, Abby, guards the home like a museum. His daughters, Lizzie and Emma, live under the roof, grown but still bound to the home, to the rules, to the family. For years, the resentment simmered beneath the lace and the Bible verses. Money, inheritance, and control fed the quarrels throughout the family. In public, Lizzie is dutiful and devout. Some say she had nervous spells, others say trance-like stares. Her eyes were as cold as river stones. No one knew what to make of Lizzie Borden at that point. Not yet. Welcome to Crime and Chaos Diaries with Nicole Grigg. Please hit like and subscribe. This is for educational purposes only, and we'll begin. Thank you. So August the 4th began like any Thursday. Andrew Borden checked the locks. Abby cleaned rooms already cleaned. Bridget, the maid, coughed in the yard, fighting a headache. And Lizzie descended the stairs, pale and quiet. Breakfast was tense. Andrew and Abby argued over a property gift to the Abby's sister. Lizzie barely ate. She claimed she felt ill and left the table. At 9:30, Abby climbed the stairs to make the guest bed, and someone followed. The first blow was to the back of the head, then another and another. 19 blows in all. Downstairs stayed silent. Bridget heard nothing. Lizzie heard nothing. Or so she said. At 10:45, Andrew returned from his errands. The door jammed. Bridget opened it. Andrew lay on the sofa, and then at 11:10, the hatchet fell again, 10 times to the face. One eye split clean in half. Lizzie called for help, her voice steady. Neighbors said she was calm through the ordeal, dried-eyed, composed. When the police arrived, both bodies lay inside a house locked from within. And Lizzie stood there quietly and calmly, her hands clean. At this point, the reporters swarmed. The air reeked of blood and curiosity. The police chief took in the scene. No robbery, no break-ins. The killer had known the house. Lizzie sat in the kitchen with a handkerchief. She said she'd been in the barn, yet the dust there was undisturbed. When she was asked about her stepmother, she said, "She's not my mother. My mother died when I was a child." In the basement, officers found a hatchet. The handle was broken. The blade was wiped. In the stove, ashes still warm, and bits of blue cloth were burning. The family doctor, Dr. Bowen, administered morphine for Lizzie's nerves. The drug made her drift. Her answers were slurred. People spoke of her so-called spells, moments where she froze like a doll and stared into nothing. Some doctors called it hysteria. Others called it evil. At the inquest, she contradicted herself over and over, it was said. She would laugh suddenly and then fall silent. One reporter reported she was like a woman of wax melting in the heat of her own secrets. By August the 11th, the police had their suspect, Lizzie Borden, was arrested for murder. So then began the trial. June 5th, 1893, New Bedford Superior Court. Reporters were scribbling, specters were swooning. Lizzie entered in black silk with her gloved hands folded. Her gray eyes met the jury. 12 men who saw a daughter, not a murderer. The prosecution tried to bring up that there was greed and fury that ignited her to kill. The defense argued shock and innocence. The prosecution argued no man could strike with such fury, but a daughter wronged might just do that. Then Governor Robinson was for her defense, and he stated, "Woman stands before you, innocent victim of suspicion, not a crime." Witnesses spoke of poison purchases that Lizzie was trying to make, a dress that was burned, and her odd behavior. But there was no blood that could be found on her or anything else that was related to her. No weapon, no proof. After 90 minutes of deliberation, Lizzie Borden was found not guilty. At that time, Lizzie bowed her head and said, "I am innocent. I leave it all to God." After the trial at Maplecroft, Lizzie and her sister had bought a house, a grand house on a hill, and there she began to try to live again. She had a beautiful home, velvet drapes, softened by daylight, but Fall River never seemed to forgive her. Merchants turned her away. There was a rhyme that began about her, that was sang by the children, that began about her killing her parents, her dad and her stepmother. The church that once praised Lizzie now whispered about her as if she was a curse. So her sister Emma, that moved in with Lizzie, she stayed for a while, but they began to quarrel in like 1905. No one knew why they were quarreling. A gnat. I'll get you. No one knew why they were quarreling, but her sister Emma ended up leaving in the middle of the night, never to return and speak with Lizzie again. At that point, Lizzie began to call herself Elizabeth. She traveled to Boston's theaters at that point and befriended an actress called Nance O'Neill, who was beautiful, daring, and scandalous. The gossip wrote itself at that point with her being involved. Perhaps Lizzie finally found affection. Perhaps she only borrowed someone else's spotlight for a while. At home, she lived quietly, walking her dog through empty streets, letters unanswered. In 1927, she lay lying alone and dying of pneumonia in her Maplecroft bedroom. No family, no one to help her. Few mourners arrived at her funeral. Her grave reads only her name and dates. But death didn't silence this story. It changed it. the house on 2nd Street where Andrew and Abby met the hatchet, refused arrest. Years have passed. Owners came and went. It now stands as a bed and breakfast for the curious and for the brave. Guest whispers of footsteps in the empty halls. Laughter echoes in the guest room, which was Abby's room. The scent of pears drift through the kitchen where none have been stored. Ghost hunters play their recorders, and a woman's voice answers, "Not me." A shadow crosses the parlor wall. Slim shoulders, small frame, a glint of metal at her side. Even Maplecroft, where Lizzie began her new beginning after their death, hums at night. Lights flicker with when her name is spoken, some say. Mirrors fog, doors unlatch, whether ghost or guilt, a spirit between sinner and scapegoat. Who knows? 100 years have passed, yet the story still breathes on through the floorboards, that a woman was driven mad by control and silence. Or was it an innocent sacrifice to rumor and fear? So Lizzie Borden's story has inspired decades of movies, TV films, and even horror retellings. Because her case blurs between the eerie line between true crime and gothic, she's right there for a rundown of notable movies and etc. One that some of the movies that have been made from Lizzie Borden's story is Lizzie Borden Took an Axe. That's 2014 Lifetime movie. That's Christina Ricci as Lizzie Borden. I haven't watched that myself, but that's one spinoff of it. Then there is the Lizzie Borden Chronicles 2015 Lifetime series. Then we got Lizzie 2018 film. I watched a little bit of that one recently, with Kristen Stewart and Bridget Sullivan as the maid. Oh, I'm sorry, Chloe Simbingi, I can't say her name, Simbingi, as Lizzie, and Kristen Stewart as Bridget Sullivan, the maid. And I watched a little bit of that recently. I didn't get to finish it. And then there is The Legend of Lizzie Borden, 1975 ABC TV movie with Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched. I'd like to watch that one. Lizzie Borden's Revenge, 2013. So it's more of a low-budget horror movie. Then there's Blood Relations, of Lizzie Borden's Story, 1992. That's a Canadian TV movie. So several documentaries from A&E and History Crime channels that you can watch. And then I just read that there's also one coming up on Netflix. You know, they got the whole monster series going on that's covered some great stories and pretty eerie. I just watched that Ed Gein one, and that one was pretty crazy. But this Lizzie Borden is coming up soon this month, so maybe you can catch it. If you found this interesting, and hit like and subscribe if you'd like to hear more of my Crime and Chaos Diaries, and we'll catch you next time. Stay safe. Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much. Bye.